Hi, everybody. How's it going? Welcome. I want to welcome you whether you're live or if you're going to watch the replay. I want to welcome you. My name is Lisa Douglass-Doe. I know some of you guys already know me, but I just like to make sure everyone knows who I am anyway, right? So, you know what's funny is, let's see, today's Friday, March 5th, 2021. And I've been, a lot of us have been quarantined over the last year, and I was just saying to myself, you know what? It's hard to make new friends and reconnect with our existing friends and family. So why don't we just do a Facebook Live? Why don't we just talk and just see how everyone's doing, right? So if you're joining us, let us know where you're dialing in from, what state, put it in the chat. Even if I don't respond right away, I will definitely reply at the end of the video, okay? So what I want to do is really just share my journey over the last, actually talking about my past. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because we've all been in lockdown. Think about it. Everyone's working from home. A lot of us are used to commuting. It's nice being at home, but then you feel like you're always the cook, right? You're always the cleaning lady or the cleaning man, right? You feel like you're the personal shopper. And you just needed to disconnect and just have some me time, which is really important, right? And then think about our kids. Our kids have had this virtual learning experience, so you have to make sure you're doing your job and you're making sure that your kids are doing your job. I mean, I've had days where my daughter's sitting on the other end of the kitchen table and I'm trying to make sure that she's doing what she needs to do while I'm supposed to be focusing on a work call, right, at the same time. And then I'm yelling downstairs to make sure that my husband is making sure my son is engaged in his learning experiences too. But I'm happy to say that the kids are back in school, even though Layla still has a hybrid schedule. It's so much better now. Of course, all precautions are being taken, mask and things like that. So what else is happening? We've had limited time with our family and friends. So it's been difficult. And even we want to pray for those who actually have lost a lot of people over the last year. It's been a trying year. So one of the reasons why I wanted to get on today is really to say, you know what? I just turned 50 a month ago. Can you guys believe it? I'm actually 50 years old now. February of 2021, I turned 50. And I've actually been reflecting on all this time we've had at home, whether it's alone in the bathtub or just maybe in your office. And I've been thinking about my journey and how I really just wanted to share with people and talk. And because a lot of us have a lot of the same stories. So I wanted us to all go down memory lane. And we're going to start with what happened and how did I grow up. I grew up in the Bronx. A lot of people don't know that I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up in the South Bronx in St. Mary's Projects. And even though I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, my mom was actually happened to be visiting my dad at the time, and boom, I was born in Baltimore. But I actually was raised in the South Bronx. So why do I want to share this thing? I want to share because not only do I want to reconnect with family and friends, but I also, unlike Drake, I do like new friends. So I would love to connect with new people as well. So let's sit back and enjoy the journey, and maybe you can relate to some of the things I'm going to share today. If so, feel free to put something in the comment, whatever is on your heart, all right? So let's talk about it. We're in the Boogie Down Bronx. This is where everyone is a close-knit relationship. Think about it. Back in the day, even though we lived in a dangerous neighborhood, we still had close connections with family and friends. As a matter of fact, my aunt lived down the hall. I had another aunt next door who watched us and her grandkids and all the neighborhood kids. And so it really did take a village, right? Now think about this. It was a 2-bedroom apartment in the South Bronx, in the projects. And we actually lived with my grandparents. So it was my oldest sister, then me, my brother, and then my baby sister, she came 15 years later. So, there's actually 4 of us. And then it was grandma and grandpa. Can you picture how many people? That's like 5-6 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Who can relate to what I'm talking about? Small spaces. You don't know anything about a house back then, at least I didn't. All I knew was apartment life. Concrete jungle. Even the playgrounds were concrete. We didn't have any grass in our playgrounds in the South Bronx, okay? But It was actually a lot of fun. I had a great childhood, all right? So even though I was raised by a single mom who was hardworking, my mom could get a job like that. If she lost a job, she would find another job, no problem. But my dad was very involved in my life. He still is today. He's very supportive, very involved. And he was actually the first entrepreneur, which I didn't even know what the term entrepreneur was back in the day. So he was the first entrepreneur in my life because he's a funeral director. He still is today. He lives down in Baltimore. And I realized that even though my mom and dad were together, I had no idea that a family unit is usually together, right? Because they were so involved in our lives and making sure that he was doing everything he needed to do as a father to be involved in what we were doing, right? So let me tell you about the fun times I had at home. So I remember it's just the three of us. My younger sister wasn't born yet, so I was the middle child. Do we have any middle children on the video right now? If you're a middle child, put middle in the chat, all right? I was a middle child, and I actually looked up what are some of the characteristics or the traits of a middle child. Well, number one is you are the pro at keeping peace in the family. Who feels like you're the peacekeeper? People come to you in the family to try to mediate situations. Sometimes I had to play that role, and actually to today, I still play that role. Maybe you do as well. Maybe you also are very independent. As the middle child, you feel like, you know what, I can't wait for anybody else. I got to make sure I do it myself and just keep it moving. That's some of the traits of a middle child. I know that's what I've experienced, okay? And sometimes you realize that you need to have alone time. Yep. Sometimes you need to just shut out the world, be alone, be by yourself, reconnect, and be able to go from there, okay? And then the last one that I read is that middle children usually have an easy time making friends. And I love to make friends. People will say sometimes I could go to a party by myself and leave with like 3 or 4 friends before the end of the party, okay? This is, of course, pre-pandemic. So hopefully in 2022, we can get back to being all together again, right? So if you can relate to any of those traits as a middle child, put me in the chat, all right? So we're back in the South Bronx. We're living with our grandparents. And first of all, I just want to say that it's important that we acknowledge our grandparents. There's a lot of multi-generational people living together today. So sometimes you're feeling like you're stretched between maybe your parents and you also have your kids, and maybe if you have your grandparents around still as well. But you need to put a heart down if you grew up with your grandparents, right? Your grandparents were the ones who probably protected you from mom and dad when you got in trouble, okay? And even not just your grandparents, but there could have been other neighbors and stuff as I talked about before. So we finally had an opportunity to move out. And my brother actually reminded me of this. We moved to Forest Projects, not that far from St. Mary's, but we were only there for a short time because we got robbed. I remember one day we just went in the house. I think it was after my mom got home from work. She went in and the house was cleaned out. There was even the furniture, everything was gone. Even the food in the refrigerator, guys, was gone. So guess what? We had to go back to St. Mary's with grandma and grandpa, all right? So that was, a bad situation for us. But guess what? My mom didn't give up. She was like, okay, it's just a setback. We're going to keep going, right? We were small. We didn't know any difference. We were just like, okay, one bed, different bed, whatever. So we had to go back and live with grandma and grandpa. Well, eventually they probably figured out, you know what, these kids ain't ever leaving. So my grandmother and my grandfather actually left. They left the apartment in St. Mary's and left it to my mom. So we were able to stay in the 2-bedroom there, okay? But think about it. As a child, we had so much fun. But there was no video games like we have today. I remember playing hopscotch in a small park outside of the window. Who else played jump rope or double dutch? I used to love double dutch. We had double dutch competitions in elementary school and junior high and high school and stuff. Oh, I used to love double dutch. We used to even play in the hallways. I mean, our neighbors used to get upset sometimes because we were in the hallways by the elevator, jumping double dutch. And when people would get off the elevator, they would be like, what are you guys doing here? We're trying to get into the house. And we're like, oh, we're just trying to have some fun. How about the pogo sticks? I haven't seen a pogo stick in years, but we used to go outside, which is a new thing for kids nowadays. They don't even want to go outside. But back in the day, we used to spend all of our time outside, and wouldn't come in until it got dark. But being on pogo sticks, we would have pogo stick competitions on who could jump for the longest period of time. It was just a great time to grow up, okay? And then when I just think about schooling, we went to a Catholic school. It wasn't that far from us. We were able to walk to school every day. But I also remember those times where I'm like, why can't I go to school today? And it was unfortunately because my mom didn't pay the tuition. And I didn't understand what that meant back in the day, but we all had financial issues, but because we were happy, we didn't even know what was going on. So there were days we're like, we had to stay home because if we didn't have the tuition, Catholic school's not going to let you in. All right. And then there was another time that I remember, and I think I kind of blocked it out. But there was a time because my mom was raising me and my brother and my sister, and she had 3 of us, and she was on a single income. Times were hard. And she actually called up my dad in Baltimore and said, listen, I need you to come and pick up Lisa and have her come live with you just for a short period of time because I unfortunately, I can't even afford to have all 3 kids with me right now. And I didn't even realize this until I was older, guys. My dad shared this story with me, and my sister reminded me of it as well. And so my dad, of course, he said, listen, of course I'm going to take my daughter, whatever she needs. So I lived with my dad. But what's funny is that I didn't realize what was going on. I just went and thinking, okay, my mom's taking me to visit my dad, and I'm going to go home with her or whatever after the weekend. But I woke up, and boom, my mom was gone. And I was like, what's going on? I'm like 5 years old. I'm in kindergarten. I'm like, how am I going to get to school? This is what I'm thinking in my mind. And I may not have been able to articulate it, but I know that's how I felt. And after a while, my dad got me into a routine. I remember he used to wake me up, just clapping his hands, even though today I need an alarm clock to get off. And I have to hit the snooze button a few times. But I remember my dad would just clap his hands. I would jump out of bed like I was in the military. He had me on a regimen. He used to take me to get my hair done at the salon. I had never gotten my hair done at a professional place before. But because he didn't know how to do it, he had to take me to someone so I didn't look like a crazy person, right, when I went to school every day. So after a while, after about a year, it was about a year, my mom said, okay, listen, I could take Lisa back. Things are better. I was in a tough place, but, and she didn't even tell my dad. She kind of just came and said she was coming for a visit. And my dad said she just took me, and he didn't realize it. He was like, that's not what we discussed. But, it was all in love. So it was all right. So I was back with the family unit rather. So if you had an experience like that, maybe, you grew up in a disjointed situation. Maybe you had to go move with a family member for a period of time, and you may have repressed that memory. If you did, let me know. I'd love to share more with you guys about it. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to have to break because guess what? The kids are about to come home from school. And I know we're not done talking about my childhood, but I think we should just reconnect tomorrow. So I just wanted to get here with everyone, reconnect with family members, friends, and make new friends. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you again tomorrow. So thank you guys for joining me. And if you're watching a replay, put replay in the chat. Have a great day.